So you're not just after cash flow, you're building a real empire. One where you could disappear from the internet tomorrow and still be set for life. And you want to push yourself physically too, not just look good, but actually move and train like a high performer. You're dialed in and you've got the vision, but even with that, you still catch yourself squirming in your chair from nagging back pain during deep work blocks, and you pull back on runs because of nagging little injuries. And deep down, you know your body's holding you back. It's draining your focus, it's eating into your bottom line, and ultimately, it's slowing the empire that you're here to build. So you go and try all these little hacks, your red light therapy, your Wim Hof, and all these Huberman clips that litter your feed. And at some point, you've probably even done the cold showers for discipline. In this video, I'm not about to give you the same recycled hacks that you've heard 100 times. I'm an entrepreneur and I'm training for the 2028 Olympics. So everything I'm about to share with you isn't just fluff or theory. It's the exact nervous system upgrades that I use to run a business, to train like an elite athlete, and to show up sharp without crashing. This is the stuff that most performance coaches miss because they've never had to build and perform at this level in both arenas. So let's get into the first of three habits that are actually going to move the needle for you. Habit number one is eccentric training because for years I had good training programming and pretty decent numbers, but every session still just left me feeling worn down. And it felt like my joints were taking on more of a beating than my actual muscle fibers. And mentally, I just felt depleted. So even when I thought I was in shape, something still felt off. But when I started actually digging into why, the answer was pretty obvious. I was just using all this momentum instead of actually controlling my lifts. And I wasn't managing my lowering phase of each movement, just bouncing out of squats and letting gravity take over. And my nervous system could feel all that chaos. So I flipped the script and I slowed everything down, controlled the eccentric, paused at the bottom, and didn't cheat, didn't have any momentum. And almost instantly, my training started just feeling cleaner and more precise, and my body felt more robust. And most importantly, I walked out of training with more energy and not less. And it turns out eccentric training doesn't spike cortisol the way that traditional lifting does. And it essentially keeps your nervous system regulated while still delivering those massive strength gains. And it also ramps up natural testosterone and human growth hormone, which is the exact hormonal profile you want if you're trying to push your body and your brain to their peak. So instead of chasing energy through all these dopamine hacks and these ice baths, you're actually earning it cleanly through real work. Eccentrics aren't a hack, guys. They're a nervous system upgrade. And if you are trying to build a high performing body that fuels your business, this is one of the smartest places to start. By the way, if you want help implementing these upgrades, that's exactly what we do inside Mind Your Movement. We license our neurostructural rewiring system to founders, execs, and high level operators. And it's basically designed to help you rebuild your biomechanics, your nervous system, and your energy output so that you can operate at peak capacity in both your business and training. And that way you don't just move better, but you think clearer, you lead stronger, and you scale faster in a way that directly grows your bottom line and brings you closer to that true freedom without burning out. So apply below if you're serious about building a body that fuels your empire. And if you're not ready yet, no worries. Let's get into habit number two. Habit number two is light nasal breathing during your training. And you might have heard about or maybe even experimented with some breathing techniques before, but what I'm talking about isn't really a fad or anything like that. It's a practice that's been around for thousands of years in Taoist and Chinese medicine traditions. And masters in this practice were said to breathe so softly that you couldn't even see their chest rise. Because the less you disturb your system, the more efficiently you're going to run physically, mentally, and energetically. And now science backs this up. So basically, when you exhale, You're not just getting rid of air, you're actually releasing the carbon dioxide that's in your blood into the atmosphere. And most people assume that carbon dioxide, or CO2 for short, is bad, but CO2 is actually what signals your body to release oxygen from the blood into your tissues. So the more you breathe, the harder you breathe, the more CO2 you lose. And the more CO2 you lose, the harder it is for your muscles and brain to actually get the oxygen that they need. So that's why huffing and puffing and mouth breathing can actually leave you tired and foggy and maybe gassed out during the middle of a workout. So I'm going to give you guys a really simple test to see where your breathing's at. So you're going to take a normal breath in, then a normal breath out, and you're going to hold your breath after that exhale, and you're going to press start on your timer. The very moment that you feel that first sign of air hunger, which is going to show up as a throat twitch or maybe some belly tension, maybe your diaphragm contracting a little bit, any urge to breathe, you're going to hit stop on that timer. And that's your score. Anything under 40 seconds and your breathing is not optimized. And just be aware, most people are going to cheat this test without even realizing it. So if you push past that very first signal, you're not really testing your system. You're just more so testing your willpower. So what should you actually do? You want to train yourself to breathe as lightly as possible during your runs or lifts, even playing sports every single day. That means smooth, fluid transitions between the inhales and exhales without holding your breath. And you got to catch yourself the moment you hear your breathing getting loud or uncontrolled, and that's your cue to slow down and bring back to your baseline. And at first, it's going to feel uncomfortable. You might have to dial back intensity just a little bit, but that's the point. You're really giving yourself the space to rebuild your foundation. And that's how you raise your ceiling at the end of the day. Because let's be honest, if you've probably been pushing for years through fatigue, and yeah, maybe you've built decent endurance, but if your breathing is off, then you're plateaued, whether you realize it or not. And so dial this in, guys, and suddenly your workouts don't fry you and you recover faster and you show up calmer and sharper on calls. And basically, your mind just stays clear even under pressure. Your breath is a lever that you can pull all day long while you're training, while you're creating, while you're leading. And it's just one of the fastest upgrades you can make to your nervous system. The third and final habit is postural integrity. And I'm not about to waste your time with the usual BS posture exercises, no band pull aparts and face pulls, cobras on the floor, nothing like that, guys, because let's be real. Those don't really make deep, lasting changes. They might give you a little muscle pump, sure, but they're not changing how your system functions at the root because they're just targeting the muscles, not the nervous system that controls those muscles in the first place. Your posture is your nervous system in physical form. If your ribs are flared and your hips are dumped forward and your core is just asleep, that's not only a mechanical issue, it's actually your nervous system stuck in survival mode. It's bracing, it's guarding, and essentially overcompensating because it doesn't trust your structure to hold itself properly. And that's going to show up everywhere. So in your training, it's going to show up as tightness and faulty patterns. And in your work, it's going to be a little bit of agitation and shallow breathing, maybe scattered focus. And in your leadership, it's going to be tension that your team and your clients feel, even if maybe they can't put a name to it. But when you restore that postural integrity, get your ribs over your pelvis, your diaphragm and your pelvic floor nice and stacked, you're literally telling your nervous system, we are safe now. And that safety is what unlocks fluid movement and deeper breath and calmer presence so that you can stop leaking energy and direct it where you want it to go. Posture isn't about how you look, it's about how your system functions. So fix it at the nervous system level, and you're going to show up with the clarity, the composure, and the effortless authority that you desire. not just in the gym, not just at your desk, but every room that you walk into. All right, ladies and gentlemen, those were the 3 nervous system habits that will raise your bottom line when implemented correctly. And so if you're a founder, an exec, or a high level operator who's serious about building your empire and your body, this is the edge that you need. Inside Mind Your Movement, we license you our neurostructural rewiring system, which is a performance framework that we built to rewire your biomechanics, your nervous system, and your energy output from the inside out. And it's going to allow you to operate with the kind of focus that compounds into real lasting freedom. If that's the path that you're on, hit the link below to apply, and I'll see you in Mind Your Movement.